Hey folks, back with another video. Let's dive into what stories got my attention today. Starting with the Ethiopian federal forces are encircling the Tigray region's capital from around 50 kilometers on Monday, the government said, after giving the Tigray People's Liberation Front a 72-hour surrender ultimatum. Quote, "The beginning of the end is within reach," end quote, the government spokesman Mehar Hussainn said of the early 3-week-old offensive that has destabilized Ethiopia and spilled into the neighboring regions. Now, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has told the TPLF, which had been ruling the mountainous northern zone of 5 million people, to lay down arms by Wednesday or face a final assault on Mekelle, a highland city of 500,000 people. TPLF leader Debretsion Gebremichael denied that Mekelle was surrounded and told Reuters the ultimatum threat was a cover-up for government forces to regroup after what he described as a defeat on three fronts. Reuters could not verify the latest statements. In fact, claims by all sides are hard to verify, as I've already talked about in previous videos, due to the communications are down. Both the networks on the internet as well as the phone networks are down. Hundreds, possibly thousands, have been killed in fighting and airstrikes that erupted, and sending about 40,000 refugees into neighboring Sudan after the government accused the TPLF of ambushing a federal military base. Radwan told a news conference that the government now controlled most of Tigray and people in captured towns were handing over weapons given them by the TPLF. Addis Ababa police have arrested some 796 people suspected of plotting quote-unquote terrorist attacks in the capital for the TPLF, the state-affiliated Fana broadcaster reported. Now, there were no immediate comment from the Ethiopia's government or the TPLF. The government said TPLF troops had destroyed the airport at the ancient town of Aksum, a popular tourist draw and a UNESCO World Heritage Site 250 kilometers northwest of Mekelle. The TPLF's Debretsion denied this, saying obstacles had been put up to block advances by the Ethiopian military. Aksum's history and ruins, including 4th century obelisks erected when the Aksumite Empire was at its height, gives Ethiopia its claim to be one of the world's oldest centers for Christianity. Legend says it was home to the Queen of Sheba, and Ethiopians believe a church there houses the Ark of the Covenant. The African Union has named 3 envoys for potential talks over Tigray. Redwan said Abiy would meet them and was open to all options except negotiating with the TPLF. Attorney General Gideon Timotheus Hesebon said TPLF actions, including attacks on the military's northern command, Amhara and Eritrea, may constitute treason and terrorism. Authorities have frozen the assets of 38 companies linked to them, he added. Now, Ethiopia is in a mess, and the civil war will not end even with the capture of Mekelle. It is, I believe, in the nature of war to feed on itself. And I'm sure I will be covering this war for some time. Even when they say the war is over, it will still rage on for some time longer. Moving on into the Middle East, Yemen's Houthi rebels said that they have struck a Saudi oil facility in the port city of Jeddah on Monday with a new cruise missile, just hours after the kingdom finished hosting its virtual Group of 20 Leaders Summit. The kingdom did not immediately acknowledge any attack, as videos on social media suggested a fire struck a Saudi Arabian oil co facility in Jeddah before dawn. A later satellite photo also suggested a fire occurred. Brigadier General Yahya Saree, a Houthi military spokesman, tweeted that the rebels fired a new Quds 2 cruise missile at the facility. He posted a satellite image online that matched Aramco's North Jeddah bulk plant where oil products are stored in tanks. A satellite photo from the Planet Labs Inc. later published by tankertrackers.com appeared to show damage to one of the tanks at the bulk plant and what appeared to be fire suppression foam on the ground near it. The U.S. consulate in Jeddah said it wasn't aware of any casualties from the claimed attack. It urged it urged Americans to, quote, review immediate precautions to take in the event of an attack and stay alert in case of additional future attacks, end quote. Saudi state-run media did not acknowledge the Houthi claim. Saudi Aramco, the kingdom's oil giant that now has a sliver of its worth traded publicly on the stock market, did not immediately respond to a request or comment. The Houthis have used Quds or quote unquote Jerusalem missiles to target Saudi Arabia in the past. The Quds one has a copy of a small Czech-made TJ-100 jet engine with a range of 700 kilometers. United Nations experts have said that they don't believe the missiles are built in Yemen and instead have been sold or traded to them in violation of an arms embargo. Iran also uses a copy of TJ-100 engines in its drone program. UN experts, Arab countries, and the West say Iran supplies arms to the rebels, allegations denied by Tehran. Personally, I'm not convinced by Houthi claims because every time something goes wrong that can be explained by a accident, the Houthis claim that they did it. Sometimes so far away that it is something I personally cannot believe. I need to see more evidence of the claim than just the ones that whatever proof or evidence that they post are not enough. Well, for me. Moving on and continuing in Saudi Arabia, the Saudi Arabia's foreign minister on Monday denied the widespread report that Riyadh's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu held talks Sunday along with U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo on Iran and normalization, claiming that no Israeli officials had been there. Saudi government advisor earlier confirmed the meeting and the trip by the Israeli leader to Saudi Arabia on Sunday night to the Wall Street Journal, saying that the meeting, which had lasted several hours, focused on Iran and the establishment of diplomatic ties between Riyadh and Jerusalem, but did not yield substantial agreements. Israel's education minister Yoav Gallant also confirmed the trip, calling it quote unquote an amazing achievement. Now, according to the Ynet news site, which quoted two officials involved in the talks, the Saudi Crown Prince did not object to the meeting being publicized. The meeting was also attended by Israel's Mossad intelligence agency chief Yossi Cohen, an Israeli official told Hebrew language media. However, Prince Faisal bin Farhan denied that Netanyahu or any other officials from the Jewish state had taken part in the meeting with the Crown Prince in a tweet issued many hours after the reports started circulating. According to Riyadh's official account of the meeting, bin Farhan himself took part in the meeting. Ahud Yari, a veteran Middle East reporter for Israel's Channel 12 News, said Netanyahu's meeting with the Crown Prince was quote unquote not the first that the two have held, and said the Saudi foreign minister's denial should be taken with a grain of salt. Netanyahu's office has not commented on the matter, and the premier did not deny the meeting took place while making a cryptic statement at the outset of his Likud party's weekly faction meeting. Pompeo traveled with an American press pool on his trip throughout the Middle East, but left them at the Neom airport when he went into his meeting with the Crown Prince. First, first reports of Netanyahu's trip, the first known meeting between Israeli and Saudi leaders, came after Israeli journalists noticed that a private jet had made a rare trip between Tel Aviv and Neom on Sunday evening, sparking speculation of a high-level meeting. The Trump administration has hoped Saudi Arabia will join the UAE and Bahrain in recognizing Israel and forging diplomatic ties, but Saudi leaders have hitherto indicated that Israeli-Palestinian peace will have to come first. Now, it is no secret that Israel and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia work in tandem in international politics. However, they pretend to use Palestine as an issue to use as a stick to unite the population in domestic politics. Anyhow, moving on to the Caucasus region, the conflict that was between Armenia and Azerbaijan that has come to an end. So far, it seems Armenia has ceded control of over more than 120 towns, villages, and other localities in the disputed Nagorno-Karabakh region to Azerbaijan in accordance with a peace deal, the Armenian state media reported on Monday. The ceded territory includes the strategically important town of Sushi, named Susha in Azerbaijani, according to a list of the 121 ceded localities published by Armenian state news agency Armen Press. The capture of that key town by Azerbaijani forces precipitated Armenia's agreement to the November 9 peace deal, signed one day after Azerbaijan's president Ilham Aliyev proclaimed victory in the battle for the town. And in that conflict, it is at least 1,500 people have been reported killed. As I wouldn't say predicted, but as something that I thought that this deal looks like it's going to hold, it seems that the deal is holding and is working so far. However, I think that the two countries should take this opportunity to work out their issues, or else there will be another war. Moving on into Hong Kong, the Hong Kong's pro-democracy activist Joshua Wong pleaded guilty on Monday at all charges related to his involvement in the protests that took place in June 2019. He was joined by two other known activists, Ivan Lam and Agnes Chow, who also pleaded guilty to charges against them. Quote, "We three have decided to plead guilty to all charges," end quote, Wong told reporters before entering the courthouse. Quote, "It will not be surprising if I am sent to immediate detention today," end quote. DW's Beijing correspondent Matthias Pollinger said the activists decided to plead guilty, quote, "to speed up the process as they knew they could not win in this court," end quote. Now the activists face a maximum of 5 years in prison. All three are being prosecuted over a protest that took place outside Hong Kong's police headquarters in June 2019 when pro-democracy rallies rocked the city for 7 consecutive months, often resulting in violence. The now aborted fugitive offenders legislation would have potentially meant the extradition of Hong Kong citizens to mainland China, where Wong and other activists felt residents would be subjected to Beijing's stricter approach to civil liberties. Former Hong Kong lawmaker and pro-democracy activist Nathan Law told DW that Wong's arrest, quote, "reinforced the end of one country, two system in the eyes of pro-democracy movement," end quote. On the one hand, if you decide to stand against the government, you know that you will have to make sacrifices, and you must accept them in order to show that you are willing and will do it. Now, I believe that Beijing's rule is repressive and authoritarian, and that is something Beijing will refuse to accept, as it fears such an acceptance will lead to the end of the regime from inside. While the excuse of mayhem and destruction is used by tyrants, but one must point out that their logic is circular in nature. You cannot be actively involved in mayhem and destruction and claim that you are in the way for mayhem and destruction. Anyhow, that's it for this video. If you like the video, then hit that like button and hit that subscribe button for future updates. Write in the comment section your thoughts, criticisms, and anything I might have missed. And I will see you in the next video.